Former President Barack Obama made his first big appearance with Democratic nominee Joe Biden, of course, his former vice president, and this little moment caught our eye.
My predecessor, who I disagreed with on a whole host of issues, still had a basic regard for the rule of law and the importance of our institutions' democracy. On the world stage, there was still a sense that America needed to lead, and that leadership meant that as imperfect as we might be, there were certain ideals and values that we were going to aspire to and advance, and that we cared about human rights, and we cared about battling against the oppression of peoples in distant lands.
What are you talking about?
American values like invading Iraq.
Torture, lying to the American public, invading Iraq, hundreds of thousands of Iraqi lives lost, still there, still in Afghanistan,
it's
Guantanamo Bay, Abu Ghraib, shall I go on? I mean, it's just, look, oppose Donald Trump. I do, right? Speak about Donald Trump, the things that he's done that you see as bad. Like, yes, that does not require rehabilitating George W. Bush. Stop doing this. Please stop doing this.
It really just confirms my thesis that Obama is the apex boomer liberal. And when he's like, well, even, George W. Bush, he respected the rule of law.
We're going to be respected abroad
I also
again.
love the American values thing. It's like, and this is how you get endless war, is that you have somebody like that who's like, well, W, like, wasn't that bad. He just invaded Iraq, but at least he was doing so for the international principle of, oh, wait, I forget whatever that one was. And same with Afghanistan. It's like, oh, well, we have to stay there to advance freedom and democracy in a place that has never had freedom and democracy and doesn't really want it. It's like, oh, cool. It's just the way and the condescending nature of which they talk there just exactly shows you. I mean, I was just talking about this on my radar. That's what you're going to get, folks. That's Joe Biden. We're going to get that again for another 4 years. And I'm dreading it if he wins the presidency, because Barack Obama, who ascended to the presidency on the backs of millions who were fed up with the Iraq war and then kept it going, has the gall to say even George W. Bush respected the rule of law and reflected American values.
But
okay, if that's American values, I don't want it.
You know what, though? It makes perfect sense when you consider who the Democratic Party has centered themselves around in the Trump era. It is a lot of disaffected George W. Bush Republicans who are essentially the group that is most pandered to within the Democratic Party now. And actually, Rahm Emanuel out with an op-ed that basically is making this case sort of explicitly that the base of the Democratic Party that they should be catering to are suburban women. Now, he doesn't put white women in here, but that is clearly the undertone of who they should be catering to. He says we need to embrace an agenda that speaks to everyday concerns of our party's anchor constituencies, namely affluent white suburbanites. I mean, kind of incredible that he just puts it right out there.
It's quiet part out loud.
And this is why, I was so invested in the Democratic primary, because this is exactly the direction of the party that I fear. Because what do you get? What he's talking about, those everyday concerns of those voters, these are people who are by and large benefiting. They're doing pretty well.
Yes.
Right? They're on the happy side of the status quo. They're feeling pretty good about their lives.
And have been for a long time.
Pretty good about where their kids' lives are going. Their schools are well funded. Their schools are just fine in their neighborhoods. And so those concerns look like surface level dressing on top of neoliberalism, while the same old persists, and the working class continues to get screwed, and lower income people continue to get screwed, and we continue to have the sort of George W. Bush, Obama, Biden, Trump policy overseas, and that's what you end up with. I mean, they are explicitly stating it here that is what the party is and should be all about now.
Right, and now they're all reading White Fragility in their suburban book clubs. So I guess all our problems will be solved. So there we go. All right.
More Rising for you after this.